Who do you think you are, questioning me like that?" the older man barked, his voice sharp, indignant. I didn't flinch. I held my gaze firm and steady. "Mr. Ingwan," I said, my tone measured and calm, "I'm here to help you. But if you really want my help, I need the full story. Every detail." He exhaled sharply, clearly wounded in his pride, but said nothing more. For a long moment, he looked away, shaking his head. "Duh! My name is Danielle, the name I chose for myself when I was a child. I'm 30 years old now, and I work as an attorney. I never used my family's last name. I built my own. I forged my career out of grit and resilience, using the pain of my childhood as fuel to succeed. When I was 6, my parents abandoned me, left me at an orphanage without a second glance. They walked away without looking back. For years, I wondered what I had done wrong, why I wasn't enough. Now, decades later, those very same people, the ones who discarded me, are sitting in my office, begging me for legal help, and they have no idea who I am. The last time I saw them, I was just a child. My mom had dressed me in my prettiest outfit, a yellow dress dotted with white daisies. She told me we were going somewhere special. I remember how tightly I held her hand as we walked into the orphanage. Outside, the sun had been bright, but inside, the hallway was dim and cold. It smelled faintly of bleach and something else I couldn't place. Emptiness, maybe. She knelt in front of me, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. "You're going to love it here," she said softly, but her voice was hollow. "They'll take such good care of you." I didn't understand. "When are you coming back?" I asked, clutching her hand tighter. She hesitated. Her eyes flicked away before she forced a smile. "Soon, sweetheart. Be good, okay?" I didn't cry as she left. I just stood there, staring at the door, waiting for it to open again. But it never did. Days passed before I accepted she wasn't coming back. That was the moment I learned what it really meant to be alone. The orphanage became my world. I quickly learned that survival meant strength. I stopped asking why my parents had left. No one had answers, and no one wanted to hear it. The other kids didn't care, and the caretakers avoided the topic. So I focused on what I could control, my studies. Books became my sanctuary. Through them, I could escape the sterile walls of the orphanage. I told myself I would be better, smarter, stronger than anyone who had thought I wasn't worth keeping. But the nights, those were the hardest. I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering what I had done to make them leave. Did I cry too much? Was I not helpful enough? Each question became fuel for the fire burning inside me. A fire that told me someday I'd prove I was enough, even if only to myself. Years later, when I was 10, I finally learned the truth. Mrs. Patel, the orphanage, directed a kind, overworked woman called me into her cluttered office. She had been there the day my parents dropped me off and always seemed to carry a quiet sympathy for me. "Danielle," she said gently, "you're old enough now to know why your parents brought you here." Her words landed like blades. "Your parents came from a very traditional background," she explained. "When your little brother was born, they believed they had to dedicate all their attention and resources to him as the family's heir." Stared at her, the words sinking in. "But I'm their daughter," I whispered. "Didn't they want me to?" Mrs. Patel sighed, her eyes full of sympathy. It's not about what you did, Danielle. It's about them, their beliefs. They thought they were doing what was expected of them. It's wrong, deeply wrong, but that's how they saw it. That night, I lay in bed, the weight of their rejection crashing down on me. They hadn't left because of something I did. They left because of who I was, a girl. After that, something shifted in me. I stopped asking why and started focusing on what I could do. The rejection that once shattered me became the fuel I used to rise. That at school, I gave it my all. I buried myself in studies. I stayed late in the library, devouring books that showed me there was a world beyond those walls. By 16, I was excelling in competitions, gaining the attention of teachers. Danielle, one of them said once, "You could go far. You just need the right opportunities." Those words planted a seed. I began applying for scholarships. My goal was singular: get into a good university and rise beyond the life I was born into. When that acceptance letter finally arrived, I held it in trembling hands. It felt like a golden ticket, not just to an education, but to freedom. The orphanage threw me a small party. Mrs. Patel hugged me tightly. "You've earned this, Danielle," she said. "Now go show the world what you can do." College was a whirlwind. For the first time, I was surrounded by people who believed in me. My professors admired my drive. My peers respected my focus. I seized every opportunity. Internships, leadership roles, study groups. I thrived on the challenge. And then came law school. Grueling. Yes, but I loved it. I learned how to channel my emotions into advocacy. I understood powerlessness all too well, and I was determined to make sure others didn't have to feel that same helplessness. When I graduated, I had job offers from top firms. I chose a firm in New York that focused on serving underserved communities. Through all of it, I kept my past hidden. Not because I was ashamed I wasn't, but because I wanted to be seen for who I had become. Not who I had been. In my second year at the firm, I met Mark. We worked together on a complicated housing rights case. At first, he was just another kore agu, but over time, his warmth and sense of humor broke through my walls. Late nights turned into shared meals. Casual conversations turned into deeper talks. I was hesitant. I had built such strong defenses to survive. But Mark was patient, gentle, never pushing me to reveal more than I was ready for. One night, after a victory in court, he walked me home. "You're the most driven person I know," he said as we stood at my door. "But sometimes it's okay to let someone else carry a little of that weight." His words stuck with me. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to think, maybe I don't have to do everything alone. As things grew more serious between us, we talked about the future, about kids, about the life we could build together. I wanted children, but the idea terrified me. I didn't want to repeat my parents' mistakes. Still, with Mark, it felt possible. But reality crept in: student loans, rent, the cost of living in New York. Our income was stretched thin. We both worked long hours. Starting a family seemed financially impossible. Mark always said, "We'll figure it out together." but I couldn't shake the feeling that I had to push even harder. I loved my work helping people who felt powerless, gave my life meaning, but it didn't pay much, and we needed more than meaning, we needed stability. So I made a decision. I told Mark over dinner, "I'm thinking about applying to bigger firms," I said carefully. "Corporate law, maybe?" He was surprised. "Are you sure?" "I love what I do," I said, "but it's not enough, not if we want to build a future. I want our kids to have what I never did." He took my hand. "If it's what you want, I'm with you." As I began updating my resume and researching firms, an old thought resurfaced when I'd long buried my family, the ones who left me. I told myself I didn't need them, but now, as I stood on the brink of starting my own family, I began to wonder, who were they now? What kind of life had they built without me? All I knew were fragment stories Mrs. Patel had shared, that they were wealthy, that they came from a prominent community. They hadn't left because they couldn't afford me. They had left because they didn't want me. The bitterness simmered, but curiosity had begun to outweigh pain. I needed to know more. I called the orphanage. Mrs. Patel had retired, but the new director, Claire, was helpful. "We still have some of your records," she said. "Why don't you come by?" A few days later, I walked through the orphanage gates. The place looked almost the same. Familiar. Heavy. Claire greeted me warmly and led me to her office. "I pulled your file," she said, setting a thin folder on the desk. My hands trembled as I opened it. "From what I've gathered," Claire said gently, "your parents were very well off. They owned multiple businesses. They weren't struggling financially." I nodded. I had suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed was still like being punched in the gut. "Do you have anything else?" I asked. She slid over a photocopy of a newspaper article. It was about the Engwan family, their success, their company, their seemingly perfect life. A photo showed them standing proudly beside a young man. My brother. They looked complete, like I'd never existed. That day, I left feeling like two people, the woman I had become and the child who had been thrown away. A few weeks later, I got the job offer I'd been working toward at a top corporate law firm. The pay was excellent. The cases were high. Profile. Mark was ecstatic. "I knew you'd get it," he said. "You deserve it." I buried myself in the work. The pressure was high, but I thrived. The past faded into the background again. Then life changed. Mark and I had a daughter, Mia. She was perfect. She lit up our world. Being a mother awakened something in me I didn't know existed. I wanted Mia to have everything I had in safety, love, security, and my career was flourishing. I'd become one of the firm's youngest senior attorneys. We had built the life we dreamed of. But sometimes, in the quiet moments, holding Mia close, a shadow would fall across my thoughts. How could they have done that to me? Then one morning, my assistant knocked on my office door. "Mr. Roberts wants to see you." New client in his office. Mr. Roberts slid a folder toward me. Big client. Discreet case. Financial ruin. "I want you on it." I picked up the folder. My blood froze. NGUAN Holdings. My parents' business. I forced my face to remain neutral. "Thank you," I said. "I'll get started immediately." Back in my office, I stared at the name on the folder, heart racing. They were here, not physically, but here. In my world, in my life, needing me, inside the folder was chaos, bankruptcy, lawsuits, financial collapse. My brother, Ba Ingwan, was named as the CEO, the golden child. He'd driven the company into the ground with reckless decisions. The irony hit hard. The family who threw me away to prioritize him now on the brink of ruin. And I was their last hope. That night, I told Mark everything. He listened, stunned. So, their future rests in your hands. He asked, basically, what are you going to do? I don't know yet. He nodded. Whatever you decide, Meg. Sure, it's for you. You don't owe them anything. I nodded. The meeting was scheduled for the next day. The following morning, I dressed with precision. Sleek, black suit, neat bun, confidence even if I had to fake it. At 11 a.m. sharp, they walked into the conference room. My father, my brother, neither of them recognized me. Miss Danielle, my father said, extending a hand. Thank you for meeting with us. I shook it firmly. Of course. Please have a seat. I opened the file. Let's get to it. And then I laid it all out, the financial mess, the lawsuits, the recklessness. My father stiffened. His face, reddened. Finally, he snapped, "Who do you think you are? Questioning me like that?" He had no idea, no idea who I was, no idea that the girl he discarded was now the woman who could decide his fate. So I ask you, what would you do if you were me? Would you tell him? Show him who you've become. Make him see the daughter he abandoned now holds all the power. Or would you walk away? Let the empire collapse and let him feel what it's like to be thrown away. Would that be justice? Would that be revenge? I don't know. But whatever I choose, it will change everything. Let me know what you would do. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support means everything.